Okay, so in today's video, we are going to check out the Proton X90 and my agenda. So now if you look more closely at the details here, you can see all LED illumination, the sequential signal lights here, full LED headlights as well as LED fog lights. This front grille design, this is the current generation Proton ethereal bow look that they have also even reverse integrated into older models like the Persona and the Saga. Here in the X90, well, it carries that distinctively boxy interpretation, and here you notice how the diamond elements seem to form sort of like a concentric pattern around the circular Proton logo, and above here, neatly integrated, is the front camera for the 360-degree camera system. Well, to give a little comment on its styling, we will explore the interior of this car, evaluate its build quality, and the most important question we want to answer is, can a 1.5-litre 3-cylinder engine adequately power a flagship 7-seater SUV of this size? So let's start off with the front. Now, since the X70, Proton has already established this new corporate look of its front end, and here in the X90 is, I would say, a half generation forward reinterpretation that is quite closely mirrored by the recently launched S70 sedan. You notice that compare with the X50 and the X70, it's more angular, it's more squarish, it's a more boxy kind of design. Now, presence-wise, there's no doubt the X90 has presence, but if you compare it stance-wise against the X50 and the X70, you notice that yes, the X90 is bigger, but the proportions-wise, there is more height than there is width. So there is a bit of lankiness to its proportions that is, well, distinctly unsporty. So now if you look more closely at the details here, you can see all LED illumination, the sequential signal lights here, full LED headlights as well as LED fog lights. This front grille design, this is the current generation Proton ethereal bow look that they have also even reverse integrated into older models like the Persona and the Saga. Here in the X90, well, it carries that distinctively boxy interpretation, and here you notice how the diamond elements seem to form sort of like a concentric pattern around the circular Proton logo, and above here, neatly integrated, is the front camera for the 360-degree camera system. So now from the side here, we can see the X90 is unashamedly bulky and boxy in its proportions. It is a very traditional SUV kind of stance, the two-box design. So what you have here is nicely sized 19-inch alloy wheels, beautifully finished here, two-tone design. There is the 48-volt EMS little badge here to remind us all that the X90 runs on a mild hybrid powertrain setup. So up here we can see there are a couple of decorative roof rails at the top finished in satin chrome. But here at the back is where the X90 really projects its visual bulk. Notice how squared off the tail is compared to the X70 or X50, where it's a bit more rounded with spoilers. Here it's just straight down, almost 90 degrees. Reason being, of course, is that the design of this car is supposed to give this whole section here more passenger room and more cargo room, which we will see later when we go inside. Now, one styling cue that I noticed is that in both the front and rear view arches, there's this little arc line here that sort of breaks the monotony of the sheet metal, and it gives that layering effect to the design. Otherwise, it would be like really a blank, plain flat surface, and that would really have made the car look rather bulky and ungainly. So here at the back, you can see the X90 is a vehicle that is, well, taller than it is wide. The design actually brings out the height more than the width of the vehicle. So there's a lot of layering going on in its design. See this bar here, the Proton wording, as well as these character lines. It all looks as if there's a lot of layers stacked one on top of another, and it makes the car look taller than it is wide. So let's check out the inside. You've got power opening, and right now the car is deployed in its 5-seater mode. But to get it to 7-seater, all you have to do is just pull this up and it snaps into place. And notice that even in 7-seater mode, there is still a good amount of space here, good enough really to put maybe your groceries, your weekly groceries, right? Of course, not enough for an outstation trip for a family, but here's the thing, right? With most 7-seaters, it's a compromise whether you want to use all 3 rows of seats or you want a bit more luggage. And the triumph in the design here is that when you drop this back, right? When you drop this back, you have a perfectly flat floor. And what's more, underneath here, there's this hidden compartment, right? So all the tools are here, and you've got even more space here for you to chuck extra things. Now, this opens up for the spare tire access. So you unbolt this to drop the spare tire under the car. So let's check out the interior. Now, first, let's get into the 3rd row. Access to the 3rd row, well, there's no folding facility for these seats. What you have to do is you get in, you walk in through the middle, and you'll be seated right here. I'm 170 centimeters tall, and above me, well, I have got a fist of headroom. Lean angle is surprisingly good. So it means that this is not as too upright a seating position where I can lounge a bit if it's a long distance trip. Leg room is also good, even with the seat pushed as far back as it could be. So, you know, not really struggling for space here, not a claustrophobic place to be in. Got a good armrest where we have this cup holder, USB port, and a tray nicely sized to drop most mobile devices. Most appreciated, of course, is this blower that, well, you can adjust it to blow cool air straight at your face. And in Malaysian climate, this of course is most appreciated. Okay, now I step to the middle row, and well, this is really the way to travel first class, in my opinion, on a long distance drive. So of course, this seat as far back as it could be, got plenty of room to lounge my legs, and yeah, overall a very comfortable place to be in. This is where the X70 really shows that it is built to be a proper flagship vehicle. Now, to bring you to my so now, design wise, I really quite like what Proton has done with the door card here. So what you have is that this is a grab handle, this also is a grab area. So it's a this piece here has a nice, beautiful, chunky look that gives you that satisfaction every time you grab it. Now, here is, well, you have the rear aircon controls. You can adjust blower speed, and what's even better, the rear seats have ventilation. All right, so on a hot sunny day, well, this comes in really handy to cool your ass. So here, the USB ports got USB-A, USB-C, and check this out. Down here, there is this compartment that is, well, big enough to store my M-Guard right here, parked nicely. And looking up, you can see the front passenger seat also has remote adjustment. This is, of course, because this seat here naturally is reserved for your CEO, your Dato', your Tan Sri, your captain and all that. So he or she would have access to push this seat as far forward as possible. And of course, from here you can see the spectacular view of the panoramic roof above. Lovely to have in beautiful nights. So let's check out the front. So we come inside to the front, At the side here, you can see this is the same door card design as you get with the rear. I really like this chunky grab handle. Okay, and underneath here, you've got this drawer and these two slots here for you to slit your touch and go cards. Power opening for the rear tailgate. Headlight level adjustment, and of course this is the instrument cluster brightness adjustment. All right, so this screen, here's the digital instrument cluster. You got the speed display here, you got the tachometer display here, and this area shows you the adaptive cruise control, which is controlled from these switches here. Okay, you have distance adjustment, set, resume, speed limit, cruise control, Bluetooth. This is the voice command activation, or you can use the high Proton prompt and
good afternoon, master.
Cancel.
Okay, cancelled.
So this side, of course, is the interaction with the car's infotainment system. Here you have another large screen here, and I really like the way they designed this vents together, how the theme flows nicely into the door cards as well. Very, very nice. Okay, and here the switches, temperature control. This is the windscreen this is the windscreen blowers, and also the recirculating mode, aircon off, auto, fan speed. Two USB ports here, and also this is a wireless charging tray. This is the T-bar electronic shifter. So press here for P, and of course you push up 2 times to go reverse, pull down 2 times to go drive, or if you want to trigger manual selection, push left for downshift, pull right for upshift. There are no pedal shifters. So here there's drive mode selection. You can rotate this to eco, comfort, or sport. So right now, as I rotate, let's say I go to eco driving mode. Okay, comfort or sport. Electronic parking brake here, auto hill hold. You can activate the 360-degree camera, which is pretty good. Okay, if you look closely at the image, the resolution is so-so, but the stitching of the images overall is rather good. Okay, and what I like, a little neat trick is, let's say for example, when I put on the signals, it will show you this angle that allows you to see this area. Are there any hidden obstacles? Very, very neat. Okay, and down here, well, parking sensors, and also this is the auto parking system. Cup holders here, and underneath here, check this out. You see this box, right? I dropped this rather deep. The glove box release. Press this button to release. Nice. Okay, so my overall impressions of the X90 cabin, it is a well-built, a very comfortable place to be in, very nice, good ambiance. It's overall well executed, and before I forget, check this out. There is this other hidden compartment underneath here. Okay, so this part is rubberized. You've got a 12-volt socket there, and yeah, so you can put more items here as well. So overall, in terms of the, I would say the execution of this center console, really it aces on its presentation, its aesthetics, as well as its practicality. Overall, a very well executed center tunnel design. So my biggest doubts when the X90 was first launched is, can this 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine adequately propel this 7-seater flagship SUV? Because yes, you have 190 horsepower, you have 300 Newton meters of torque with a 7-speed DCT that is supposed to assuage the old concerns of replacement for displacement. But see, as you have experienced enough cars to be able to tell you that sometimes it's not about the peak horsepower, it's about how that power is delivered for you to put it down on the road. So having driven this for a day, what I can tell you is that the X90 with this 1.5 3-cylinder engine, well, you get that adequate performance, right? You can cover distances, multiple locations in one day with adequate performance. The engine does not feel underpowered. You won't feel like the slowest car on the road. But the reality, however, is that at the end of the day, what we have up front is a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine that is tasked to do the work that we typically assign to a 2.5 or 3 liter V6. And turbocharging or direct injection or whatnot, you know, something's gotta give. And the thing is, when you're driving on highways, you're going at your 110, 120 kilometers per hour. It's good, okay? The engine ticks along nicely. It's all smooth. It's all operating in its peak power band. But when you need to squeeze rapid acceleration, all right, out of at the higher ends of the rev range, that is when a bit of 3-cylinder roughness starts to set in. And not only that, I also noticed that on slow moving traffic, bumper to bumper crawling, when you are inching forward at low to moderate speeds, you get that typical DCT struggle in you sense that the mechatronic is trying to figure out how much pressure to apply to the clutch pack, and that is when you feel that, you know, that there is that a little bit of juddering and shaking of the engine and transmission. So adequate it certainly is, but refinement, it's given as good as it gets, but there is no replacement for displacement. Now on to handling. Okay, I'm just about approaching a sweeping bend, and compared to other China cars in the market, the X90, like the X50, like the X70, handles tidily, but does it have the same kind of exhilarating dynamics like older generations of Protons from the Wajah Gen 2 era? No. Those days, the Protons that proudly wore the tuned by Lotus handling badge, well, where they were first and foremost good handling cars that were comfortable. Now, the brief is a bit more of, these are comfortable cars that happen to have good handling. The priorities have been swapped, even though Proton's expertise that they acquired during their Lotus days are still there in the chassis team. So with the X90, yeah, you can drive this on highway. It's stable at high speeds. If you take this on the B roads, it maintains tidy body control. But I would say that the Exora actually would offer you much more in terms of driving engagement, coming with all the with more vivid steering feedback and all that. I'm not saying that it's a better car per se, but the driver to car connection, that intimacy which previous generations Proton have, you're not going to find it in these newer cars anymore. Even though as a overall package, the newer generation of Proton cars definitely appeal to a wider audience, a much wider audience, I would say. Okay, so right now I'm just coming up to Jalan Tun Razak and it's a bit of traffic jam, so I might as well take the opportunity to activate the intelligent cruise control. So from my readings in the instrument cluster, the car has a good sense. It's able to differentiate between vehicles and motorcycles. Right? It is reading the lanes well and is helping me with lane centering. Okay, and it is tracking the vehicle speed in front well enough. Now, the one thing that I observed yesterday as I was driving once again in peak hour traffic, the car also it handles itself well against people aggressively cutting your queue. So there were a couple of times where I deliberately just leave the car to decide whether or not to stop for the queue cutter in front, and the car actually did. So right now I'm in slow moving traffic, and I'm just letting the car do the driving. So the funny thing is, back then when this technology first came out, I was one of those old-fashioned guys who were very resistant towards this, right? But fact of the matter is, in traffic jam conditions where it's horrible to drive, right, you might as well let the machine do the driving. And now as the traffic clears, I disengage the intelligent cruise control and take back control of the wheel. So to sum up my thoughts on the X90's driving experience, well, my chief concerns with regards to its powertrain, well, I would say it has met my expectations, and in both areas where I expected it to do well, and certain areas where I expected it to struggle, it's almost exactly what I anticipated it would be. So Proton has done what it can, right, in making the best out of this 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine. And of course, in an ideal world, we would want a vehicle as big as the X90 to have the option of at least a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. But the reality, however, is that even with Geely in as a partner, Proton is still a relatively small volume manufacturer in the global scheme of things. So in order to get the best economies of scale, the only viable strategy for Proton to continue on now is a path where you maintain the lowest possible variation of engines, all right, and try to make the best out of that one or two engines you have on offer. So in the previous generation, it was the 1.6 and 1.3 liter Campro engine. Now, as the Campro family is being phased out, it's now the 1.5 3-cylinder that is supposed to carry the torch for the next few years. So in that sense, yes, the X90 would definitely have been better served with a larger capacity engine, but I understand why it has to make do with a 1.5 3-cylinder engine, and I can see that they have done their best to extract what is possible out of the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine. Now, on to other aspects of the package. Styling wise, well, okay, I'm not a fan of the way it looks from the outside, but the interior, as with all of the current generation Protons, really no complaints. All right, built to an extremely high level of quality. Yesterday, I just ferried a couple of customers who, let's just say that they came from a Cayenne and they went into this, and they said, "Wow, this is not bad." Cayenne customers came into this and said, "This is not bad." So quality-wise, Proton is definitely on the right track. Now, what about the proposition of the X90 as a package? Now, if you were to ask me, I think for most people, the X70 would do fine. All right, the X90 is a vehicle you go for if you really need the third row of seats, and this is where I would say that the third row is well packaged enough that when I sit in, it does not feel cramped. So if you need a 7-seater or 6-seater SUV that gives you a usable third row, the X90 offers that. All right, so as a package, yeah, the X90 is great value, even though I believe the X70 and X50 is more than enough to serve the needs of most people. But if you need that third row of seats, yeah, X90 is definitely a worthwhile buy. So that concludes my thoughts on the Proton X90. Do share with me what you think in the comment section below. Let me know also if you have just bought an X90. Share your experience down in the comment section below for everybody's benefit. So that's it for my video today. Until my next one, take care, stay safe, I'll see you soon.